Hey everyone, Cool here. Today we're here to talk about a unique EToH fan game that was developed by an EToH YouTuber I'm sure everyone knows. This isn't just any ordinary fan game, however, as it has its own twist when it came to remaking EToH Towers. Oh, and before we get into anything, let's just completely ignore the fact that I have a script written in front of me as I make the video. So, let's get right into it. The EToH fan game we're talking about is What the Heck Is This Tower by CRP Killer, a project that started around April of 2023 and has been active ever since. Unfortunately, not all good things last forever. As time went by, the game slowly lost its charm and players, from having hundreds active per day to now becoming completely inactive with 0 players. For this video, we'll tackle on how the game became so popular to eventually becoming disordered into a ghost town of towers. To give you a brief overview, the What the Heck Is This Tower was made to give players the experience of playing EToH towers but larger, hence the towers having giant on their names. Though this is simply an illusion to make the player look like they're in larger towers, despite the player scale being the default height. By May of 2023, the game had already contained Ring 1, with most of its original counterparts being almost complete. This is also where the community began submitting their own take on the towers, gigantifying them with the use of the kit provided by the developer. This kit utilizes larger stud textures, thus making the illusion of larger objects. Throughout the same month of March, there would be a lot of new towers being introduced, like Toki, Toast, Talk, and even the Tower of True Skill being released as a soul crushing. Smaller tweaks and updates would come the following next few weeks. Not until June, when the community began working on Ring 2 towers while Ring 1 was still incomplete. This is the same time period I myself would be introduced to What the Heck Is This Tower, even creating my first giant tower, which would be the Giant Tower of Falling and Failing. I wouldn't call it a good first tower, but it was somewhat innovative considering that I added a healing pad in it that back then wasn't even available to the kit. By some miracle, though my first ever tower made would receive a verdict of a high pass. Yeah, I'm not sure how that came to be considering I barely had any real knowledge of building a real tower anyway. Oh, and on the 22nd of June, Ring 2 would finally release, really quickly having only 6 giant towers playable. Then, the big brain me decided that submitting one giant tower wasn't enough, and so I built the Giant Tower of Overcoming Hatred, being somewhat of an improvement from my last, but it itself wasn't as horrid as its real counterpart. At least back then before the updates came. By July of 2023, the development of Ring 3 towers would become even faster than expected, that CRP himself started wondering why the community developed giant towers in such a short amount of time. And surprisingly, the towers made were really top-notch in terms of quality and gameplay. And on the 13th of July, the Giant Thanos Tower and Giant Tower Rage would be released to the public in Ring 1, with now the Giant Citadel of laptop splitting being the only one left to 100% Ring 1. Suddenly, CRP would announce a building competition that would change the game forever. Well, kind of. Though I guess this event did help out with Ring 2's population, as the competition was set around building anything for Ring 2's map. This could go into forms such as towers, restaurants, or supermarkets, and much more. Though the winners would have to wait as the deadline for it was set to be on September, which would be 2 months later. From that point on, I'll be skipping most of the game's timeline as there weren't that many major updates and were primarily just Ring 3 tower submissions. By August of the same year, it had seemed that Ring 4 towers were starting to take the spotlight already, with the previous and new community builders starting to create their counterparts for Ring 4 EToH towers. Oh, and keep in mind, by this time, Rings 1 to 3 were already playable, so yeah. Oh, never mind, Ring 3 would end up releasing on the 1st of September. Despite the place being play-tested for bugs, it still managed to make itself buggy. I won't go completely detail on how buggy it was, but you get the point. I forgot to mention this earlier, but the building competition comprised of 3 winners, with somehow I getting first place. I mean, my build wasn't that great, but hey, it was worth staying all night for, I guess. Months coming after September, the game's progress would be on a steady platform. With consistently new giant tower submissions, it seemed like everyone in the community wanted to have their own towers into the game. Finally, 2024. The game updates would remain relatively same, with the release of custom giant towers and small lobby changes and such. By February of 2024, the giant citadel of Wacky Strategy would receive large amounts of progress, with CRP himself being involved in development, along with other community builders of course. And on the 23rd of February, the giant citadel of Wacky Strategy would meet the public when it finally released during only a short amount of time amidst its development. Sadly, from this point on, I wouldn't know what updates would come to the game, as I myself started to play it less and focus on the real EToH instead. Good news is, the game would yet gain even more player traction by June of 2024, thanks to the Roblox algorithm. During the same month, the counterpart of the Forgotten Ridge, this one being based off of a theme park, containing the same steeples and towers, but gigantified, would be revealed. Oh, and by July of the same year, some of the Ring 4 towers would arrive for the players to take on. I believe Ring 4 wasn't complete around the same time. Surprisingly though, a planned World 2 or Zone 1 was set to be released soon, which was quite a shock considering how development for the previous rings weren't even finished yet. The development would actually be made faster with the help of community builders developing Zone 1 towers, which made it to the release of World 2. Jumping to October of 2024, CRP revealed the development of Ring 5, with images of the ring select having it and its official ring name. At this rate, there's been a lot of updates and development reveals back to back. That makes you wonder how CRP was able to handle all of this despite running into roadblocks that crucially slowed down development of Harriets. Oh, and just to support that, CRP was busy working on a couple of giant towers for the upcoming rings, like the giant tower of glitching and healing. I kid you not, the same month he released a new custom tower that was also made by him. You can easily tell the game's development was at its peak, with CRP and other community builders continuously creating counterparts to be added into the new rings, or even previous ones that felt like it needed something different. Well, too bad. By January of 2025, the Fangame's progress would change drastically. Despite steady development of towers made by CRP, that side for community builders wasn't looking so good whatsoever. The sudden fall of community-made towers became the trend from January 2025 onwards. CRP started noticing the lack of any update and took note of it. Well, sure, a couple of builders took it on themselves and built towers, but not for the rings or zones that were 100% complete. It meant that the pending giant towers would still have to wait for its area to release before it was even made playable. Funnily enough, there would be tower slots for Ring 6, which, as of now, having only 6 confirmed towers, and until today, it is yet to be updated. With so many new contents to create, it seemed like CRP stuck to working on its giant versions of citadels, like the giant citadel apparel for Zone 1. And yeah, Zone 1 at this time was in a playtest phase and wouldn't be released until later on. Finally, on May 2025, Zone 1 would release. Though, the zone would immediately face a noticeable change in player count and later on the downfall of the game entirely. By the end of the month, it was said that Ring 6 would be put in development, though chances of that ever happening is extremely slim considering how the Fangame barely receives any major update nowadays. It's now mid-2025 and CRP starts realizing the slow death of the Fangame, with Ring 6 receiving little to no updates or anything at all, which at this point was the sign that its popularity was put to a rest. Verified builders started to fade into the shadows. Players who used to be active in the game began to forget about the game. Or was it really because of the amount of work being put into the game that became the cause of its own downfall? It was evident that CRP was able to handle creating back-to-back updates before, but losing motivation to work on a project was like the arrow hitting the bullseye. When the game started losing popularity and community-made towers, the entire game shifted into a state of nothingness. with it even affecting CRP, making himself lazier by the day to continue working on any pending project for the game. I don't blame him though. Working on the game, especially during extended time periods, can be exhausting, with the addition of real life of course. As of today, Ring 6 still hasn't been released despite having confirmed towers for it. Every tower being developed for the game from the community also came to a halt. The moment we knew there was still hope was when CRP released the giant Tower of Terrible Mondays a few months back. And since then, nothing has come from the game. Like its Discord server that turned into a ghost town, with very little communication being made unless it's a game suggestion. Which, yeah, it's been a while. Nowadays, CRP is focusing on his other new game, which I've tried myself. It's basically one of those find a games, but EToH related. You can check it out yourself if you want to try it out. Well, that's What the Heck Is This Tower for you. A fan game made by a well-known EToH YouTuber that met its peak and eventually died off. Not because the creator felt the need to stop updating the game, but because of the growing community that ended up losing motivation to continue making their own towers for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this documentary form video. Leave a like and subscribe as this video took a lot of researching and effort just to produce. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.